and here is my sweet cream or sweet corn casserole. 14 little circles out of this. Oh my gosh, that's 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And here we are. I didn't think it was gonna pop up that easily. I gotta get to chopping those onions. And you know what I forgot on my plate? A piece of sausage. Putting this on top. And oh my gosh, these are delicious. Isn't that cute? And there, that's the finished one. I wish I had videotaped in there. Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making some chicken tamales. It is hot out right now, but I'm still going to make these because I have to have these ready for our Christmas morning when we exchange our gifts. And as you can see, I've got a fireplace going just to put me in the mood. Okay, so let me tell you what these ingredients are going to be and we'll get started. All right, let's start off with the essential ingredients to make some tamales. We are going to need masa harina, or this is actually corn masa. This is already kind of has a little bit of a mix in there, especially for tamales. You can just get regular masa harina or corn flour and then just add some seasonings and such to prepare it for your tamales. I'm going to go ahead and use this one, but I'm still going to be adding some seasoning because I want lots of flavor. Okay, so that's the first ingredient that we need. And then we need some kind of a shortening or fat or lard. I'm going to be using this one. I'm not going to use all of it. I'll let you know exactly how much I'm going to be using in a moment. We're going to be needing some corn husks, just like these, some dry corn husks. Now my filling is going to be chicken, as I mentioned. It's going to be chicken tamales. So I got a 10-pound bag of chicken thighs, or quarter legs is what they were, chicken thighs and the drumstick. And it was a 10-pound bag, and I cooked them yesterday in a pot in some water. So I went ahead and I boiled them, and then what I did is I just took all the meat off the bone, all the skin off, and just shredded it really fine. I used a little bit of it for our dinner last night, but this is still enough. There's still plenty of it left to make some nice tamales. And the water that I obviously boiled this became a chicken broth. So I've got my chicken broth that I strained to remove any little bits of skin that were still in there, little pieces of meat or whatever were left in the water, which became my broth. So this is my broth, and I've refrigerated it. And as you can see, all the fat has come up to the top. That doesn't matter. I can use that fat in my tamales. This will actually give it some flavor. But I'm going to go ahead and skim it off, and I'm going to reheat these up because I need it to be in liquid form because right now it's like a jelly. But this is great also to store it in a better container. I just put foil over it. I was tired last night. What can I say? Okay, it's better to put them in a little covered jar or something, and you can use it for some other things. Okay, so that's my chicken, and I'm going to season my chicken. And like I said, I'm going to season my masa, and I can use salt, I can use some cumin, pepper, and some garlic. These are just the basic ingredients, okay? Or actually basic seasonings. To season it some more, I'm going to be using some chile pasilla, which I am going to toast on my cast iron skillet, and then I'm going to throw them in the blender with some of that chicken broth. And I've also got here some chili peppers. In case you don't want to go through all that, you can just use some little chili pepper powder. I've got some paprika, and of course I've got another chili powder right here. You can use any seasonings to combine them. Now I found this one at my grocery store. It's a tamale masa seasoning, and it's basically got everything that's in there. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this in my tamale masa and just taste it and see if I like it, and if I have to add more, I will. But I am gonna be using these for my chicken. So that's my ingredients for my tamales. First thing I need to do is I need to go get my sink full of hot water, immerse my corn husks in them, let them soak for at least 30 minutes to soften them up and make them pliable for rolling up my tamales. And then we're gonna start preparing our masa, and we'll be back. All right, here I've got my hot skillet, and I've actually put some olive oil down, and it's nice and hot, but I've lowered the temperature, and now I'm gonna put these pasilla chiles into the pan here, and I'm just gonna toast them up a little bit. And what the toasting does, it really just releases a lot of the essential oils in the chile, so it'll give nice flavor. And then we'll have to remove these little stems, and then we can remove the seeds that are inside. I'm going to go ahead and leave them in there because, you know, we have to like things a little spicy around here. But you can go ahead and remove them. So I'm just going to toast them on one side for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to turn them around and toast them, and then I'll get my blender ready. and we'll make this little chili sauce that we need for our chicken. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to season my chicken, and I had this in the refrigerator overnight. So what I've gone ahead and I put it in another bowl and I've broken it up, because after I've shredded it and it's been in the fridge, you know, little bits of fat that are still on my chicken cause it all to just stick together. So I've just gone ahead and broke it up into this bigger bowl. Now I've got my pasilla chiles here. And like I said, I'm going to be removing the stems, and when you pull them out, it basically pulls out the little vein, so you can just do that. Just pull on it, and if you want to pull out the little vein, you can use your kitchen scissors and cut them open like this, and then just remove that vein out of there. And if you want to also sprinkle out all those chiles, you can. It's a little bit of work. I am going to suggest that maybe you use some rubber gloves, because some of this chile, well, because of the oils in the chile, it will get on your skin, and you don't want to touch your face or your eyes, because that'll be a little bit of a trouble. Yeah, so that's up to you. If you think you can handle it, just make sure you wash your hands really well afterwards. I washed them before, obviously, and I'm going to wash them after. So all I'm going to do really for myself is I'm just going to remove these stems. Some of the little pods of chile come out, but I like those little chili pods. That's okay. I'm just going to break it up a little bit, and then I'm going to throw them in my blender. Let's get them cut up with my scissors. Make it a little bit easier. Let me go ahead and cut this one up a little bit more. And I've got some of this chicken broth ready here. Okay, now you could use some fresh garlic cloves in here, which is probably the best thing. But I ran out and I forgot to get some. But I do have I have garlic powder, not garlic salt. I have garlic powder, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. Okay, so here I am grabbing all the chiles, a little bit of that little seeds also. I'm going to throw them in. Okay, I'm making a mess, everyone. I have got stuff falling on the floor, and I can't wait for my dogs or my cats to try and come and lick that up. Oh, what a bad mommy I am. Okay, anyway, so we've got this in our blender, and I think our chicken broth has cooled off some. I'm going to go ahead and pour about half a cup in there, not too much. And then, of course, I'm going to sprinkle some salt, some pepper, and this is all to taste, okay? Some pepper. I like lots of pepper, so I'm going to get lots of it in there, because I do have quite a bit of chicken here. Whoops, I haven't even opened up my little jar of cumin, so let me go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll add that in there, and I'm going to go ahead and add some garlic powder for now. Okay, so what the heck, I already have a little jar of cumin already open, so why not use that, right? Okay, sprinkle some cumin in there. It's about a teaspoon of cumin, and I want about a teaspoon of the pepper, and probably about, in my taste, a tablespoon of garlic powder, or maybe like 4 cloves of fresh garlic. I'm going to add some of this paprika. Sorry, I'm going to shake it down. I'm going to add some of this paprika in there. That's about a teaspoon in there. Yeah, there we go. Get that in there. We're going to cover this up. That's another thing with working with chiles. But I love the scent of it. Now, I'm going to protect myself by putting a towel over it, because I'm scared that it's going to maybe explode, because the chicken broth was still a little warm. It wasn't hot, but it was warm, but I still don't want anything happening. So I'm going to hit my liquefy. Okay, basically what I want to do is I want to create a paste. So let me show you what that's looking like inside of my blender. It's all at the bottom, and it is all like a paste. And let me show you up close. I'm going to put it in there a little bit more. I'm going to add just a tiny touch of more of that chicken broth to help move it around. And so altogether, I've poured maybe 3/4 cup of the chicken broth in there. Okay, now I didn't explode, so that was a good sign, but I'm still going to put my towel over the lid. All right, that should be good, and this is ready to put into my chicken and flavor it up. So let's get that in there. Look at that. Oh, gosh, that almost looks like a mole. Well, it could be with a few more ingredients. And I'm gonna try and scrape as much of this out of here. I kind of want to save some of it for my tamale masa, but I do have all those seasonings, so I really want both my masa and my filling to be very flavorful. Now, a traditional Mexican tamale is pork, so you could cook a pork roast and then shred it up, put it in your slow cooker, let it cook all day, shred it up, have it ready for the next day. And in place of my homemade chicken broth, you could buy some already made, get some unsalted one, or you could just use some water. It'll be fine as long as you season and flavor everything really well. You can use hot water both for this and for your masa when you're mixing that up. And we also like to put beans in our tamales. So my mom's gonna be making pork and bean using the same steps that I'm doing now. She may season them just a little bit different because, you know, sometimes people just want to change things up, and that's just me. Okay, so this is nice and flavored. Let's make sure. The only thing I might want to add into this is a little bit more salt. The only reason that I'm not going to add it is because I do have people in my family that are diabetic and some that have heart conditions. So I'm not going to do that, but you'll probably want to add a little more salt if you don't have an issue with salts. Because then I'm also going to be making a salsa to serve with this, a tomato salsa with some chile, with some jalapeno. So that'll have flavor to give our tamales, or at least a little bit of spice to it. So then that's why I don't feel like I'm going to need to add any more salt, and basically we just don't need it. Okay, so then this is it for me. My filling is prepared. Now I'm going to make the masa. All right, I'm going to use the same bowl that I prepared my chicken in to prepare my masa, because all the little bits of chicken in there is fine to flavor my masa with. And I put my chicken back into the other container that I had it in, and I just covered it and put it to the side. I am going to pour about half of this bag of masa. This is about, let's see, it's about 4 pounds, 4.4 pounds. So I'm going to pour half of that, so just a little over 2 pounds of masa. And I'm going to say, gosh, this is about 6 cups of masa in there. And for that, I want about a cup of this lard. And I'm just going to be kind of testing as I go along, and I'll let you know. Oops, I'm just going to just tear the heck out of this container, aren't I? Look at that. I don't see myself using this, but I didn't find a smaller container, so I have to get this big one. I don't see myself using it for anything in the future. Okay, this is where my hands are going to just get really dirty, you guys. So it's up to you if you want to do it my way or put on some plastic gloves. My hands are really clean though. Okay, I make sure I'm not even wearing any nail polish on my hands, and I don't have my rings on or anything else that might, still hold on to some bacteria or anything like that. So my hands are clean, my sleeves are rolled up, and everything is fine. Okay, so I added a cup of masa into this. Now into the, where I did the chile in the blender, I poured some chicken broth in there so I could sort of like wash around my blender and get those yummy flavors from the leftover chile paste that was in there. And I'm gonna use this for my masa. I'm going to add a little bit of salt to this, because the masa does ask to be prepared with salt and some hot water, and then you can just mix it up to make the masa. Because this is already a mix, like I said, but if you're just using regular masa, like for some tortillas, then you're gonna add lots of flavors to it. I'm still gonna add flavors to it. This is what I'm doing. All right, so I've got the seasoning that says tamale masa seasoning. I'm gonna go ahead and use some of that. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my tablespoon here, and I think I'm gonna add, let's see, 1, 2 tablespoons. I think I'm gonna add a tablespoon per pound of masa. Let's try that. Oh my gosh, that smells good. Okay, now I'm gonna pour some of this warm broth, chili broth in there. a little bit at a time. I poured about almost like 3 cups of the chicken broth into this. Not quite, but almost. So that's kind of what I'm starting with. And then I'm just gonna mix it around and kind of squeeze it to break the masa, to break the lard, the fat or shortening, whatever you use, into the corn masa. Now this is kind of what you would do if you were making like a bread and you're breaking butter into flour or sugar. You get your hands in there, do it the old-fashioned way. Now I could use my food processor, but you know what? Not everybody has a food processor at home. So this is a loving way to do it. Do it by hand. And what we want to do is we want to get this masa to be like a clay where you can like shape it and it'll stick together, but it won't crumble like this. So it obviously still needs more liquid and it needs more of the manteca. So I'm gonna get about half a cup. I'm gonna be watching that because I don't want to add too much manteca or lard. Okay, that's quite a bit. Okay, and I was saying earlier, because you know we have diabetics and people with heart conditions. Yes, we do. So that's kind of where I'm not putting as much lard as one would normally put in here. That is quite a bit though. That is quite a bit, but it's not a tamal unless it has some of that in there. It's not going to stick together and during the steaming process. Okay, we don't want a plain masa like you would for tortillas, okay? We want a more substantial masa that will stay together while it's steaming. Okay, I'm gonna add some more of this water in here. I probably added just a little over 2 cups by now. I'm gonna keep working this and add more of that water. I'm not gonna add any more fat to it. The only thing that I might do is maybe season it a little bit more with some more garlic powder, etc., just to give it a nice flavor. Look, I'm going to show you a little bit of what I want it to look like. Look, see that? And if I form it into a little ball, push my fingers in there, the indentation stays in there, but it doesn't really crumble. Instead, it kind of like just sticks to my fingers. But you want to put enough of that where you can also tap your hand and pick up the little bits that were on your hand, and it sticks to this other ball instead. So that's what you want your dough to be like, where you can get to the point where that same masa will pick up them little bits that are on your fingers and your hands are almost clean. See, all them little bits will stick onto the masa. That's how you want the consistency. Now I want the whole thing to be like this. So I'm going to continue working it and I'll be back. All right, I've worked my masa and I've actually seasoned it a little bit more. I've taken a little taste. I don't know what I was gonna say. I've taken a little taste of it. I'm gonna taste it again. It's just fine the way it is. So just season it to taste. You can taste it. It's not gonna hurt you. A little ball of raw masa, it's not gonna hurt you. Okay, so this is ready. We're gonna go ahead and get all our prepared masa, our chicken filling, and our leaves. I'm gonna move over to another little station. Normally, this is done as like a social event. Making tamales is a big old family, friends event where everybody's around the table, everybody's helping around the island or sitting at a table or whatever, everyone's helping. But you know what, nobody wants to be on camera in my family. So, okay, that's fine. I'm making this by myself and preparing this for them. So I'm gonna just move it over to a table where I can sit down and relax and watch some YouTube videos while I'm doing this. But I am gonna show you how to get them on the leaves and rolled up and ready to steam. All right, we're gonna go ahead and start preparing our leaves with our masa. And you wanna take your leaves after you've rinsed them and shake them off and even towel dry them a little bit. So I'm gonna do that to all of my leaves that I pulled out from the sink. I didn't pull them all out just yet. I just pulled out a few, like half of what I had in the sink, because I don't want them to get dry while I'm doing this. And then the first thing that I like to do before I even put any filling is to prepare all my leaves with a masa first and then go back and fill them in. But I'm gonna go ahead and do this first one and roll it up for you so that you can see what I'm doing. I am going to move this over just a little bit because I want to explain something. Now, the way you have your leaf is by using the wider part facing you, and that's where you're going to put the masa. Now, the width of it doesn't really matter. It all depends on how big you want your tamal. Mine aren't going to be very big, so I'm going to have about 5-inch wide leaf. So I actually end up trimming some of these off. Any of these little bits, I can also trim them into smaller little strings, because I could use these to tie either individual tamales, or I can tie them together and tie 6 of them together while I steam them. That's just so they don't pop open while they're being steamed, and so I like to tie them up. And also, if you tie them up, they look really pretty if you do them individually. So that's up to you if you want to do that. I'm just going to remove any little stringy bits, and that's it. I'm just going to grab about a tablespoon of my masa. You can make it into a little ball, put it down on there, just press it down, and then use your fingers to work it and spread it and make it as thin as you possibly can. Don't go all the way to the edges on the sides. You don't need that. Just push it down, and make sure that you're pressing it down on the smooth side of the husk. On the other side, it's got the little texture, the ridged edge, and then you can just, that'll just not stick very well. So this is what you want to do, is you want to press it. Now I'm going to put it on the table here and just help myself by pressing it down. And then what I do is I just kind of like clean a little bit of the edge here, clean a little bit on the top, and that's it. I just make like a little square, just like that. Now, if you don't want to do it by hand, you could put it in a tortilla press. You can put your leaf down on your tortilla press, pick the size that you want, make sure you've got the smooth side up. Let me tap it dry here. You'll make your little ball of masa, put it on there with some plastic, push down on your tortilla press and do that. I really wanted to do that, but I can't find my tortilla press. I don't know where it went, and I'm not about to go looking for it, because you know what? I'm lazy. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it this way. There is a scraper that they make especially for doing tamales. I don't have one, but I do have this little flat spatula that has a little bit of a what would they call this? Oh, gosh, I don't know. It's got a little bit of a scrapey edge. So you could use something like that, like a spatula, to scrape it down onto your leaf. And that works just fine. But I mean, I can just use my hands, right? If I'm not using this. Now that other tool, I have used it. They make it specially for the tamales. It's just a little plastic tool that you just scrape on the masa. My mom has perfected that, and I have not. I need to get it and see how that works. But you can actually look for some videos, and you can see some people using that little tool and just putting it on there. So it's up to you how you want to do this. And then just put them on top of each other on a tray. And then just keep a little towel so you can keep everything covered, so your masa and so forth, and all these other corn husks don't dry up too much. And then this will be all lined up and ready to be filled. I'm going to go ahead and fill one up for you so that you can see how I do that. And then I'm going to continue working on my tamales and get them all onto my little sheet. And then we're going to put them in a big old pot. Got a big old pot for steaming them. And I'm going to get about, this is about a teaspoon, just like a regular cereal spoon here. And I'm just going to get about that much. See that? A little ball. Put it on there. Spread it out. Whatever your filling is. Don't have the filling all over your tamal. You don't want that. Just a little bit like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to get one side of your tamal, and it doesn't really matter the left or the right. It just depends. I usually fold in the left for whatever reason. Just fold it once, halfway over, and then the other half. So it's like a third, okay? And then you just want to make sure it's not squirting out here. And then all you do is just fold this part down, and that's it. That's your nice little tamal. It's got a nice amount of filling in there. It's nice and pretty. If you wanted to go further, you could take a little strip of husk. Hopefully it doesn't tear up on you like it just did on me. Tie a little knot. This is kind of a tedious job, but if you had people helping you, everybody could have a different little job to do. And that's how that looks, all tied up. Isn't that pretty? Look at that. And then you just keep on working and filling up the rest of your tamales, and then we'll be back to put them in our steam pot. All right, I've got all my tamales all wrapped up and all nice and neatly, as you can see here. If you're curious how much I've got out of the just over 2 pounds of masa that I made, remember I used about 2 pounds, just a little more, and plus about 1.5 cups of the lard is what I ended up putting in there, including about 3 cups of chicken broth, and then of course all my seasonings. That made 4 dozen tamales. Now I had a little bit of chicken left over and some of the leaves, so I decided to make another dozen, so I just made a little bit of extra masa. So this is what you're seeing here is 5 dozen, but I actually got 4 dozen and maybe 3 tamales out of what I made. Okay, so now I've got my stock pot right here. I've got a nice tall big one. If you don't have something like that, you can use a shorter pot. That's fine. You might have to use 2 depending on how many tamales you make. Now I'm going to want my tamales to steam in my pot, so I need to put something down here so that they won't be in the water. My tamales won't be in the water because I will be putting water in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bowl like this. I'm going to add some of these leaves first at the bottom, because usually when I add a little bowl at the bottom and then it's heating up, the bowl ends up creating some suction. And you can use a glass or a metal bowl, you know, depending on what you feel safer using. Okay, I've also sometimes even used my my seed grinder, my molcajete at the bottom. So I'm just gonna put this down here. Let me go ahead and move this over so you can see. Let's trade these over. This is what I'm doing. And then on top of that, I'm just gonna put some more leaves just to make sure that none of my tamales fall in there. Now, if you have one of those stock pots that come with that little steaming plate that you can put inside, fantastic. I don't have that. And I could probably create one, but you know what? I'm just gonna do it this way. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna get a sheet of foil because, you know, I don't have that. And then I'm just gonna put it right in there, just like that. Okay, now I'm gonna take some water and I'm gonna fill it up just to right underneath the foil. And the water will depend on how big of a pot you're using, okay? So I just want enough water in there to create some steam, and I'll be checking them and pouring more water in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna make a little notch right here in my foil, a little notch right here, where I can dip water, I can pour water in there without it falling all over my tamales. So that little section won't have anything. Now if you don't have enough leaves, you could take more of this foil and crumble it up, and then of course place it in there on the inside, on the sides of your little bowl or whatever you put in there, just to create like a little ledge so nothing falls in. And I'm just gonna make a little notch there. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all my tamales in there, and I'm gonna put them kind of standing up a little bit. I don't want them laying flat at the bottom because I don't want any of that water to get into my tamal. I just want them to steam. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start rolling them, layering them in there kind of at an angle, standing up, whatever I can do to get them all just facing with the open end up. This side is closed, so we're not gonna worry about it. So we're just gonna stand them up like so. And I'm gonna continue doing that. I'll be back and we'll put it on the stove and I'll just show you what else you need to do. All right, so I'm placing the last of my tamales in my pot, and the ones that are going on the very top can be laying down because they're obviously not gonna get touched by the water. So now what I wanna do is I wanna be able to trap steam on them. So I'm gonna take some of the, some more of these wet corn husks and put them over. And this is my little hole here where I'm gonna be able to pour water in carefully because I will be wanting to check. And I'm gonna put these on the stove. I'm gonna start them on a high, kind of a high temperature, because I wanna start this water to boiling, not too hot, okay? But I do want them to kind of like a medium heat, medium high is what I meant to say. Medium high heat on my stove to get that water boiling. And once I hear it, of course, my little lid's gonna start doing a little bit of a popping. I am gonna lower it to a medium to low and just let them steam carefully and slowly for about 30 to 45 minutes. And I'm gonna check them at the 30-minute mark. If I still had some masa, I could put some on top of the lid right here. And the reason that I would do that is because if that masa that was out here was cooked, then I know that what's inside is cooked. Now the one on the top will be dry cooked, but the ones on the inside will be wet cooked because they're steamed with the water. So they're not gonna be a dry masa. So when you check your tamales, don't check for a dry masa. You're gonna check for just kind of a little bit of a translucency to your masa. And I'll show you that when we get to that point. I think I put enough leaves in there, and I've left my little crevice here where I'm gonna be pouring water in. I'm gonna put my lid, and I also want to put lots of weight on top of my lid, and I'm gonna be checking it. I can get another heavy bowl or my molcajete, like I said, my spice grinder. I can put it on top of here to add weight so that the lid stays there. And then I'm gonna check it in 30 minutes. So this is going onto the stove now, and we'll be back and we'll be tasting those delicious chicken tamales. All right, my tamales have been steaming for 30 minutes, and I wanted to show you what they look like right now. So this is what I want to show you. If you can see that, let me get over here so you can see it in the light. The masa is now looking cooked. It is going to be very soft right now because it is just steamed, and of course it's going to be very moist. But this is it. And it has a little bit of a, steam in my hand, it's really hot. And I'm tasting it, and it's only been 30 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it an extra 15 minutes to steam. I'm gonna cover them back up with the leaves. And right now I have them at a low temperature, but I can still hear the water boiling in there. So at about 10 minutes of boiling, I lowered the temperature to a medium, and then I let them go for another 20 minutes or so, and I've lowered the temperature to now to a low boil. But I can hear the water inside there boiling. I don't know if you can hear it. And I did add some more water in there to make sure that there was always water, so there's always steam. Okay, so we'll come and check it in about another 15 minutes. All right, my tamales are all done, and I'm taking out a few of them and placing them on a tray so that I can let them rest for a little bit. Now, if you want to prepare the tamales ahead of time, you can just do that and wait till the day of your party or your family gathering before you steam them, and then just steam them an hour and a half before your guests are there, or you're ready to actually serve them, because you want them to rest a little bit. There we go. You don't want to take them apart as soon as you've taken them out, because they will kind of fall apart on you. You want them to get, to rest and become solid and just be perfectly shaped tamales. So we're gonna go ahead and open one up and find out what that looks like. Take my little scissors here. And put it on a plate here. There we go. And then see, that just peels right off. That husk just comes right off. And look at that. Pretty tamal. And we like to serve these with a little bit of salsa on the side or even on top. So you can serve them any way you like. So let's try this out, see how that tastes. A little bit. Now you can just grab them with your hand. I'm gonna go ahead and use a fork. They're not quite set yet, but I'm gonna taste them. Well, I'm giving myself a big old thumbs up for my recipe. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just take them all out, spread them all out, and let them rest, and then they'll be ready for my family's dinner. Well, I hope that you enjoyed my recipe for my chicken tamales. I do have another recipe for some sweet tamales, and I will put down the link to in the description box below. So make sure you check those out. I hope you enjoyed my recipe. I hope that you will find it easy to make. It is time consuming, but if you get everybody together, help out, you can have a big old social event out of the whole thing. Get some fun aprons, get some games for the kids, and hey, have them help you. I'm sure they enjoy rolling them up. Anyway, leave a nice comment down below. Make sure you give me a big old thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and share. Feliz Navidad, Feliz Año Nuevo, y buen provecho. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and enjoy.